session with our special guest, Ashley Steiner, who's going to talk to us all about all things XrmToolBox, which is a must-have tool if you're in this space. So we're going to kick things off with our friends at Doug, just to take us through a little bit of background on Doug, just in case you're new to this area. And if you are new to this area, welcome. Thank you for coming. We're excited to have you. And I will hand things over to Madison. We'll go through Ashley's content. Lots of questions are always encouraged. Like, put Ashley to the test. And then we'll wrap up just before 1 o'clock. We'll probably wrap up and get you back to your day. So without further ado, Madison, why don't you kick things off for us? Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, hello, everybody. For those of you that I haven't met, my name is Madison Zulowitz. I am the event coordinator here at Doug. So I help run all of our local and regional meetup programs. Just here to tell you a little bit about Doug. Doug is a free community for users, implementers, and resellers of Microsoft business applications. We mainly support Microsoft Dynamics 365, GP, and Power Platform, and we're here to help you excel and grow in your personal and professional careers. Our rules of engagement are that we essentially ask that these meetups are held to be solely educational, so please no sales pitches. Also on that note, we would love for you to get involved with your speaker. We want you to ask lots of questions. It makes our speakers feel appreciated, and it's how you learn the most anyway. So any questions that you have, there are no dumb questions. I'm sure that Ashley would be happy to answer any that you have. So just feel free to drop them in the chat, or I'm sure she'll tell you how she would prefer questions to be asked. Dynamics User Group, we have multiple different programs. So we have free online discussion forums where if you have a specific question about a specific product, you can ask those in that online forum and the community will help answer. We have free webinars, local meetups like this one. We have in-person and virtual ones. So if you're looking for something in your local area to attend in person, feel free to message me and I can help you find your meetup. And then we also have lots of virtual meetups, some that are location-based, some that are industry-based. So lots of different options. And we have some like this one for manager and admin. We have conferences, we have a YouTube channel. So on our YouTube channel, you can find recordings from local meetups like this one. If there's ever a topic that you're interested in, I'm sure that somebody around the world has probably spoken about it before. So would really encourage you to go check out our YouTube channel. Some great free educational content there. Oh, did not mean to scroll there. We have our 2025 DynamicsCon regionals coming up. So these are all of them in North America. These are a little bit larger in scope than our local meetups like this one. They're usually full day to 2-day events in person. We include multiple different product focuses, usually multiple different breakout rooms, all discussing different contents for that specific product. These are free to attend. We also include lunch and a social hour. So really great networking opportunity in your local areas as well. Would highly encourage you to attend these. We are going to Rocky Mountain in Denver, Colorado in August, Ohio in August, Texas, which Ashley will be there in September. We're going to Tampa in January of 2026. And then internationally, we are getting ready to go to Africa. We'll be in Ghana and Kenya and Copenhagen, Denmark in September. We also have our largest conference of the year coming up in May of 2026. We'll be there May 12th to the 15th in Las Vegas, and we currently have our early bird pricing going on. If you would like to get your ticket, you can scan that QR code there and go ahead and get registered. This is a multi-day event. Again, lots of great educational sessions, fantastic networking opportunities, and just a really great way to get involved in the community. So I'll leave that QR code up here for a second and send it in the chat. If anybody has any questions, feel free to just shoot me a Teams message or an email, and I'm happy to help. With that, I will pass it back over to our great speaker, Ashley. You guys are lucky. She's a fantastic speaker. I feel like I've had the chance to hear her speak a few times. So excited to go ahead and pass it over. Thanks, everybody.
Madison, just before we jump to Ashley, we've got in the chat, Robert's asking, when does the call for speakers usually open for DynamicsCon?
DynamicsCon, it usually opens a few months before. I can go and look and see if, I don't think that they've opened it yet, so
Yeah,
I'll
so
double check.
early.
But I bet you I can find you a date. So I'll go look and then send it in the chat, Robert.
Okay, he's just responding. Let's have a quick. Okay, perfect. Okay, over to you, Ashley. Thank you.
Awesome, thanks. And I definitely paid Madison for that intro there. So thank you again. I love this. Love being here. Love talking about the XRM Toolbox. It's one of my favorite things as a CRM administrator. I've used it a lot, and then obviously now as a consultant, I use it as well. So I know the title says CRM Admin, but it's applicable, I would say, to more than just admins. I saw this great presentation a couple months ago where, because it was virtual and going to be available online afterwards, he put the highlights right at the beginning, so somebody would know right away if it was helpful and useful to them. So here are the highlights. Here are things that we're going to go over today. We're going to talk about what is the Xrm Toolbox, how you would install it, set it up, get it onto your computer, and then also the top tips. So I'll get into this. There are over 400 tools in the Xrm Toolbox. I think I've selected maybe 20 to talk about, and we'll probably demo like 8 to 10 depending on time. There are so many in there, but we're going to go through some of my favorites. So again, here's the agenda. We're going to go over what it is, how to get it, the tool library, and setting up the connections. So who would this session be for? Like, who could use the Xrm Toolbox? Who would it be beneficial for? I think the obvious answer is CRM administrators, because that's in the title, right? I think this is something that every admin should have in their back pocket, something that they're using almost every day. There's something in there that's going to be beneficial for you. I think the functional consultants and solution architects, I fill both of those roles, and I'm in the Xrm Toolbox every week, if not every day, doing something with my clients' environments, making things easier, right? As a consultant, you're always looking for ways to impress your clients with the speed and accuracy of how you can do things, and the Xrm Toolbox definitely helps, and it's something that we educate our clients on as well. And then I think data analysts is another one that it would be beneficial. There's a lot of tools in there involving data in particular. We're going to go over a couple of those today. But I think if you're working with data, even if you're working like on connecting Power BI, things like that with your Dataverse, it is helpful. So why would I be eligible to talk on this topic, right? Like, why do I consider myself an expert in this? I don't like to talk about myself too much. Everything's up here. I am a Microsoft MVP. It's been about 3 years now. And the only other thing I'll point out on here is that I do have a podcast. It's called Awkward Silence with Ed Gonzalez. If you're not familiar with Ed, he is a Power Automate expert. And we post maybe once a month or so, but there's a QR code there. We talk about all things Dynamics Power Platform, new things, old things, whatever we want to talk about that day. So definitely check that out if you're looking for some tips and tricks beyond these sessions. So let's get into the fun stuff. What is the Xrm Toolbox? So it's a Windows application. It sits on your computer. So it is an app that you have to download onto your computer. It's not like a web-based add-on. It does sit on your computer, and it does only connect to the Dataverse. And I think that that's important for people to know. So it wouldn't work with, there aren't tools for like Business Central or F&O because they don't use Dataverse as their backend. And then obviously this would also work for Power Platform as long as you're using Dataverse as your database. So that's a really important thing, I think, for everyone to know, is that it's really only going to help you with Dataverse based systems. What it does is it provides tools for customization, configuration, operations tasks. Something I heard a friend say, oh gosh, probably 10 years ago now. She said to me, if a task in Dynamics takes like too much time or it's redundant, there's probably something in their Xrm Toolbox to like make it faster or make it more efficient. And that's true. So if you find yourself spending just time doing repetitive tasks or it's just taking a really long time to execute something, I'm going to bet 99.9% of the times there is something in the XRM toolbox that can make it helpful. And the reason for that is because there are over 400 tools. The last time I talked about the XrM toolbox was late last year, and I compared the number of what it was then to what it is now, and there were only like 350. So that means in like 6 months, 50 new tools were added to the XrM toolbox. The best part about the XrM toolbox is it's free. You don't have to pay anything to use this. This is community members like us that are developing tools to make all of our lives easier. They are just committed to helping. Obviously, they do. They have this little thing you can send PayPal, like send them coffee as a thank you. Definitely support your local developers. But it's free. It is free to all of us to download, to use. There's never going to be a price. You're never going to get hit with a fee for like running so many things on the XrM toolbox. How do you get the XrM toolbox? So you do download it from the website, just XrmToolBox.com. You're going to click this fun little green button. I put a big arrow because it's a little button on the screen. It just says download the latest version. When you download it, it's going to run as a zip file. When you go to open the download, you're going to want to extract and run that exe file. So it's just like any other download application that you're going to put on your computer. I also like to tell people, remind them that you do need to be an admin on your computer in order to download it. So if you are at a company, working at a company that limits like your admin access to your computer to download things, right? That's a security thing that a lot of companies do. You might need to involve your IT team to download it. There is documentation on like how safe it is, things like that. So there shouldn't be any issue. I've never seen an IT department turn down the download of it, but just, a reminder. You can see there it also has the latest version. What's great when you download it, it'll ask you if you want to do auto updates. And I would definitely recommend the auto updates, because what it'll do is it'll tell you when you open it that there's a new version available. And so that way you're not, running an old version maybe of the tool and it doesn't work. So I would definitely do the auto updater as well. So navigating around the XrM toolbox, again, the screen is pretty small, so we'll go through it very quickly. I love my little animations there. We'll open up the XrM toolbox. It'll be a lot cleaner. But basically just, connecting to the system, so you can have multiple environments connected to the XrM toolbox. So as an admin, you would have, your sandbox, your dev environment, probably a UAT, and then, your production. So you can connect all of those. As a consultant, I've had as many as 20 environments in there, based on the number of environments each client has. There's no limit, at least that I've seen so far, to how many you can have in there. The tools that are in your toolbox that are available in the toolbox are going to be in that tool library. And then you can also see the list of ones that you've installed. So install just means that you have access to use them. It's not that it like saves on your computer or that you can only use, you just have to install it within your toolbox to use it. You can search by keyword or by category. So if you're not quite sure what the name of what you're looking for is, you can say, I know I'm looking for something, related to user security. And so you can filter by that category and it'll narrow down your options. And then just the last thing is like your list of all of your tools here. To install a tool, you'll just select the tool that you want to install, and then you'll click the install button. So it's that simple. And all that does is it takes a tool and puts it into your personal toolbox to be able to use. And then these are the installed tools. So these are things that you have put in your personal toolbox. So you can see the view is a little bit different. The screen, it shows you what they are. And then if you want to use it, you would just double click on it and it would open. So pretty simple to use. All right, the boring stuff out of the way. Let's actually see the XrM toolbox in action, right? Let's actually show some of the cool things that it can do. I've listed, it might be more than 20. I've separated these into categories: configuration, data, user setup and security, and administration. So administration were things that I use a lot as an admin in order to do my job effectively. And so I've listed my favorites here. This is not all of the ones that I use. I probably have a list of like about 50 that I recommend to people and like, hey, you have to use this tool. If you want that list, let me know. Happy to provide it. And we're not going to go through all of these today. There's not enough time. Unfortunately, we'd be sitting here probably half a day if we wanted to walk through every single one of these. But these are the ones that I recommend that you have to have in your toolbox in order to use. So just an overview on what these are. They're going to be in the PowerPoint and available to you. So we're going to actually walk through some of these. If there are any that you want to see in particular, please throw that into the chat. I also love being interrupted. So if you have questions, as as I'm demoing something or going through a tool, please don't wait till the end. Speak up. Feel free to even come off mute, ask your question, put it in the chat, whatever is more comfortable for you. But also, if you want to see one of these and we don't get to it, please let me know. Let's make sure that this is beneficial for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and switch to the XrmToolBox. Toolbox. And can you guys see that?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, perfect. So this is the XrmToolBox. Toolbox. It's hopefully a lot bigger than the screenshots in that PowerPoint. So what you'll see here is this is the tool library. We'll open that up. So this is all of the tools that are available in the XrmToolBox. Toolbox. And then you would click on it here and you would put it into your personal toolbox. So this is where you can look. And then also here are all of your categories. So they do categorize this in a lot of different ways. I kind of group things together in how I view and work on things. But there are a lot of different options in here. In my personal toolbox, that's where the tools up here. And then you can see I have, a ton here in my personal toolbox. Do I use them all on a daily basis? No. And I could remove them. It doesn't hurt to have them in there. It's not like it slows down the system, anything like that. So it's kind of like once I use something, it's there and I keep it. And then that way I don't have to install it over and over again. So let's walk through any questions on the navigation, getting around the XrmToolBox Toolbox before I continue. Pause.
Nothing in the chat just yet,
Okay.
Ashley.
Okay, perfect. The one thing that you'll want to do before you start opening tools is connect your CRM system. So I have Dataverse. I have my different environments already listed down here. So you can see I have a few different, companies in here. And so I just go ahead and name them as appropriate. In order to create a new connection, you'll just hit the new connection here, and then you'll use the Microsoft login control. Is typically the one that works the best, but the connection wizard just depends on the type of environment that you have. You'll want to use that, and then basically you just use your login credentials, and any environment that you have access to as an admin with those credentials will show up. So you can select that one, name it between your dev environment, your production environment, and you can add each of them individually. So it's a pretty easy process to do that. And so you'll just use those connections. Two things, you would only want to use the XrmToolBox Toolbox if you are a system administrator. If you are like a power user or just an end user, right, a salesperson, customer service, you're not going to be able to do a whole lot because this does respect the security that you do have in your environment, which is good because you don't want to have some salespeople in here like executing workflows or updating data for everybody. So it does respect security. So this really would only be beneficial for people that have likely very high security or system administration. And this does work with both online and on-prem environments. So if you are still on an on-prem environment, you can use the XrmToolBox Toolbox, and it does work pretty well. And that's where you can see that you have like the connection wizard, the MFA. Those are different ways that you can connect. So it is a tool beneficial for multiple different types of environments. All right, let's jump into some of the tools. So the first one I want to start with is the model-driven app copier. I've already opened it. So it was here for us and available. The reason I like this one is I know Microsoft is like, oh, use our apps, just customize the apps we give you. I tend to like to copy what Microsoft gives us and create my own, because Microsoft makes updates to their apps, their forms, their views, and I don't always have control over what that is, and I don't know what they're going to change, and it might overwrite what I need my users to see. So whenever I do an implementation, the first thing I do is I always copy one of these solutions. And I used to go in and have like 2 screens open and be like, all right, I'm going to create a model-driven app and pull in all the things to make it look like the Sales Hub and then add all the extra things. Well, I was in the middle of doing this once and I was like, wow, this is taking a really long time. There has to be something in the XrmToolBox. There is. What it'll do is you can select which app you want to do. You could even do a custom one. So if you've already created a custom model-driven app, you'll be able to copy that. So it'll show you what the source app is. It'll show you the name, the logo, all of that. And then what you can do is you do need to select a solution to put it into, and then you can create a name. So let's say that I want this for my outside sales team. It's just, and then you can put here what your unique name is, and then you can even use a different icon. So if you wanted to upload your own icon, you could do that, and you can do that all from here. You can even put in what your URL will be for that app, and then what you would do is all you would do is hit copy, and it will go ahead and create, oh, I didn't put in a description. I'll just copy. There we go. And yes, and what it'll do is it'll run this in the background, and it will literally take the Sales Hub and it's going to create a brand new model-driven app with all of the same items. It's going to have the same navigation, same forms, same views. And then, as an admin or a consultant, you can go in and just make the edits that you need to, starting from the base of what Microsoft has given you. This saves me hours of time. I can't believe how much time I used to spend, like I said, pulling up 2 screens and like comparing the different apps. And so then if we go into our environment, and I'm going to go ahead and do a refresh, and then we'll see that new app here in my listing. You gotta love CRM loads very quickly. And so there you go. There is my new app called Outside Sales. It's there for me, and it puts it into an editing, because obviously they don't want to make it available to people until you publish it. So then you would go into the maker portal and you would make the edits that you need to, but it just like that. I mean, it took what, like 30 seconds, and there's your app for you.
Ashley, does it also include things like the security roles and all the components? It's the entire app if you put it into that original app, right?
Entire app. Yep. So
Yeah.
Yep, the security role, yeah, everything. Makes
Nice.
a direct copy. Yep.
I think that's a fan favorite so far.
Yeah, this one saved my life, because I got so sick of like I said, like comparing. So this does only work obviously on model driven apps. It doesn't work with Canvas apps. It's right there in the name. So always like to just make sure people know that. But it will work with custom apps. So I could now copy the outside sales app if I wanted to create one for like inside sales and start from what I've already edited. So it doesn't have to be just the Microsoft provided apps. Any questions on that one before we move on?
It would be interesting to see who here has used that or not used it. Is this new to everybody? Maybe do a thumbs up.
Jamie's got a question in the chat about connections. Will it keep connections?
When you say connections, can you tell me what you mean by that?
Will it keep like pulling the information from the same sources?
Yes, it will.
So it's basically creating a sandbox of your app, correct?
Yep, you're creating a sandbox of your app. And then it won't be live to users until you publish it.
That is amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But just to be clear, it's creating it in the environment that you're creating it in. It could be a sandbox, it could be a prod, it could be a dev, it's whatever org that you're in, right? So it's not
Yeah, and then you would-
necessarily a sandbox, right?
Yeah, you would definitely, I would always recommend doing everything in a dev environment. That's my first tip to any admin. And then you'd want to move this to a higher environment in a solution when you're ready for users to use it. But if you are somebody who edits right in production, I used to be one of those people. It's okay, no judgment here. It won't be available until you publish it. I try not to judge people. Every company is different. All right, the next one that I really love is the view layout replicator. So this is awesome. So when you have users that are like, oh, I really love this view, I want like 6 of them that are the same with the same columns and all of this. And you've created, but let's say I just want 6 views and you've created them, but they all have different columns because who knows why they wanted them in different orders, things like that. What you can do, so instead of having to go in and like relay out all of your forms, and again, have your 2 screens up and like reorder the columns, what you can do is you can come in here and say, okay, this is the one view that I want all of the other views to use, and have all of the columns, and all this does is put the columns in the same order. So let's say that I want all of my views to look like the all accounts. So whatever view, like whatever columns are in that order, I can come down here now and I can select what I want to apply to that. And say, so let's say there's, you're taking over a system and there's 15 custom views and all of the columns are just haphazard. What you can do is you can come down here, and again, you don't have to select all of them. You can unselect and only choose the ones that you want. And then once you hit the save views and publish table, you have your options up here. Again, you can publish directly from here, but if you want to test, look at it in the maker portal before you publish, you would just need to hit save views here. And what it'll do is it'll change those columns and make all of the columns in that view look like the columns in the all accounts. So let's go ahead and show one just to show how quick and easy it is. So if I go to my all accounts view, you can see that I have 6 columns here and they're in a specific order. But if I go to my my no campaigns this month, you can see that I only have 4 views, right? Or 4 columns, and they're in a different order. So let's say I wanted to make this view look like the all accounts view. So I want to clear my selection and I only want to choose my campaign. And I'm going to go ahead and save that. And yes, I want to update it. It's going to save it and then publish table. And again, this is a sandbox environment. Let's pretend it's a CDX, but you obviously wouldn't want to do this directly in production. Again, no judgment. And so what'll happen is on the back end, it's now applying those columns to this new view and putting it in the order. This is my favorite part, is like, how do you fill the time of like when it's circling? Any questions on kind of what this is used for or application? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do a big refresh here and go back.
Sorry, I do just have a question, Ashley. I might just be a bit slow with it, but does this the capability that you're demonstrating, is this just only for system views, or is it for personal views as well?
It will work for custom views as well, as long as you have access to them. So you can see here that it says target views. You can select only system views, so I can remove
yes.
user.
Yes, you're right.
But you would have to have access to them. So if you have a rogue salesperson creating 100 views, now there is an XrmToolBox tool that allows you to see what views people have, and you can give yourself access to them.
Okay.
I don't have that on the agenda for today, but happy to pull that up if we want to.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so it does give you access to custom views as long as, as long as you have access to them as an admin.
Brilliant. And then just to not hold you up too much, Candarp's asking, does this work on virtual tables?
I saw that question. I have never tried, so I don't have an answer for you, but I am happy to follow up and ask someone who might know the answer to that. So I've never attempted it. I don't see why it wouldn't work because, you know, it's a virtual table in the Dataverse. But I don't know. So I will follow up on that and get you an answer. And I'm going to go back to the environment here. And you'll see that obviously this was 4 columns before. They were in a different order. And now with just that very quick save and publish, this view now has the same columns and the same order of columns as the other views. One of the things that I do recommend to admins is try to have as many views have the same columns in the same order as possible, because otherwise it gets confusing for users. So this is a really quick and easy way where you can create one view and have it in the order of columns that you want, and then just apply it to everything else. Any other questions on the view layout replicator? I always like to leave like just enough time to make things a little awkward before I continue. So you're like, "Ooh, should I ask a question?"
Hence your podcast name, Ashley.
Exactly.
It's aptly named.
It is, yep.
No questions right now.
Okay, let's move forward to the record lookup by GUID. I was throwing one in here just to make sure it worked, because you never know sometimes. So if you guys know of another tool, it's called Level Up. It is a browser add-on. You can also do GUID lookup there. This is just, there's always sometimes, you know, there's multiple ways to do things. We're not here to talk about Level Up today, but definitely a plug. Get that browser add-on if you don't have it yet. So this is really helpful if you have, when you export information or when you look at things, like when you're doing integrations, you don't get the account names, right? You get the GUID of the record and you're like, well, what does this apply to? Or when you run a workflow and there's a failure, it's like, oh, this doesn't exist, or we can't find this record. You need to go, it gives you only the GUID to look it up. I am going to grab the GUID from the URL. If you don't know how to do that, it's going to be after the schema name of the table and ID. So it's this fun little digit right here at the end. And I'm just going to go ahead and copy that. So if you didn't know, that's how you find the GUID of a record. It's at the end of your URL here. And all you need to do is paste it in here. And I have 738 entities inside of my Dataverse. Now, that's going to take a long time to search, right? It could probably take upwards of like 5 to 10 minutes. What it does allow you to do is it allows you to filter the entity. So if you do know like that this is a contact or an activity, you can come in here and narrow that down. So I'm going to go ahead and type in account, because I know that this record is an account, and so it does filter down to that one. And you can see now it says just search one entity. So that way it'll go a little bit quicker, and I'm going to go ahead and hit search here. And it'll show me my account record. It went really fast. This is the one. It'll also try to then open that record in your browser. Because I'm using a private browser, it opens it in a different browser that is not connected to this environment. But it will immediately open it up in your browser to show you the record as well. If you click this, it would also open the record directly in your environment. So it works very easy, you know, very quick, very easy. And I would definitely recommend using the filter so that you filter down to the table or entity that you know this record belongs to. Any questions? And thank you.
Have you found a purpose for this other than what you initially attempted it for, Ashley? I'm sure there's like lots of scenarios that this was really useful for. What are some tips that you have on that?
Yeah, the biggest one that I've used it for is error messages, either in like, it is any sort of error message, right? That you get, you know, when clicking around records or trying to do something, workflows. That is the biggest one I use it for, because it'll give you like, oh, it applies to this record. So that's the biggest use case I have found. I don't think I've had any other use case other than, you know, when you're doing data, you know, data migrations and things like that. Sometimes you need to look up like a specific record. But error messages is number one, the biggest reason I would use this.
Yeah, agreed. Awesome. Okay. All
And
right.
thank you, Vanda. I saw that you put in the link there to Level Up. You can use it in both Chrome and Edge. And so it's a great tool. I would definitely recommend it. Happy to talk about it. Feel free to reach out. The next one is a huge saver. This is called the recycle bin. So one of the things that I always told salespeople is like, if you delete it, we can never find it again, which is why you remove delete capabilities from salespeople, right? Or any sort of user. Now, there are some cases where you let people delete things like activities, right? There are sometimes when you want a salesperson, oh, hey, I created 4 of the same task because I just hit save multiple times. And I, in the created 4 of them, you want them probably to be able to delete that, right? Because otherwise you're going to be every day deleting things as an admin. I had a salesperson once who went into their Outlook, and because they had like 400 of those reminders because they never closed their activities, just hit delete in Outlook and it deleted all those activities then in CRM. Scary, right? He wanted them, just not the pop-up reminders. So, and as an admin, you're like, well, once you delete it, it's gone. Well, actually, it's not. So as long as you have auditing turned on, so I'm going to load my entities here. So as long as you have auditing, and again, this is only going to pull in the different fields that you're auditing. So I always say when you audit, edit, or when you audit as little fields as possible, right? Because it's going to take up storage, it's going to take time. But in this case, when you do the recycle bin, and let's say something gets deleted, it'll only pull back in those fields that you are auditing specifically. So I'm going to go ahead and delete an account in our system. So let's go ahead and delete Alice LLC. Where's my delete button? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this. It does get, you do get the warning, but people still do it. And let's go ahead and make sure this deletes. And then what'll happen is this recycle bin will have the access to pull in any recently deleted items. Now, one of the first things that you'll want to note is that it only goes back a month. You can go further than that. You used to only be able to go back a month. So that is a very big improvement. That's insane. Wow. Okay. Love the update. Like I said, these tools get updated and have no idea when, what gets, or you should really keep track, but it's really cool stuff. So this is, okay. So my record here for Alice LLC has deleted. I changed my date range here and I'm just saying all users because, I don't know which specific user deleted something. And now I can say show deleted records and it's going to pull in all of the accounts that have been deleted within that time frame. It'll even give you the date that it was deleted and it'll tell you who deleted it. So now you can go have a really,
Change your security role.
Yeah, you can have a stern talking to someone or whose security role to change.
Or purge,
and
purge
so-
someone off the team.
Exactly. And so all you would need to do here is select the ones that you want to reactivate and you would say restore record. And yep, I'm confident that I want to restore this record. And this is a really good example. I love that this came up. So it's saying, okay, this contact with this ID does not exist. And that's because Alice had a primary contact listed.
Yeah.
So this goes into your relationships and your what's the word I'm looking for? Like how you delete things down. So if I delete an account, cascade, thank you. This goes into cascading rules. So you would not want to, I always recommend that you don't want things under a record to delete. You want to keep those and then they'll just be unparented, but then you have a decision to go in and say, hey, let me look at all the unparented items. So the reason we can't bring this one back is because there was a primary contact and that contact got deleted as well. This is a really big pain point of the recycle bin because you're like, hey, this is great. I can bring this back. And then you have this relationship. So you definitely, when you do auditing, when you set all this up, you definitely want to keep your cascade rules in mind. I'm going to go ahead and delete Acme here because they do not have a primary contact. So that way we can see this work in action. Say show deleted records and then Acme will now appear. And now let's restore a record. and you'll see that it's restoring the data, and then it'll show you all of the fields that were brought in. And if we go back and we refresh, we'll see that Acme has now been added back into the system. Now, this was obviously a really quick turnaround. You can see that there were some deleted in April that I can come back and restore. Love that it got extended past 30 days because people tend to not report something until they realize it's missing. Could be months. So yeah, so definitely a couple things on this one. Make sure your auditing's turned on. Always audit only the important fields, and just know that if you have to use this, it might not bring back all the information. And then also think about your cascade rules, right? Always make sure, I always just untie everything because you're still going to want those opportunities, things like that, especially because you don't want, when you accidentally delete an account, you don't want to lose everything. So.
Yeah, we find actually that because the data hierarchy for our clients is very complex, the cascade rules are too difficult to limit. So this tool, I love it in its theory. It's just not enough if you have a complex data hierarchy and you cannot really modify that cascade really easily. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, this definitely does work in a simple way. I mean, the thing is, once you delete something, it's just always easiest to tell people it's gone. Like, just don't delete it, right? This is kind of that like last resort. I might be able to bring it back kind of thing. If again, your relationships allow for it. Sometimes it doesn't, but
yeah. I know this is not on topic, but with Microsoft's preview feature, I just put it in the link here with the restore deleted Dataverse tables. Have you had a chance to compare and contrast with the restore that's been forever,
asked for?
asked for? It's been in preview, I feel like, for 15 years, but have you been able to kind of compare and contrast at this point?
I haven't. I have not compared them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think
Until
it
it
also
moves-
has some similar limitations of
Yeah,
just like
I would
how
assume.
much of the hierarchy it can restore, right?
Yeah, I would assume that it has, I mean, I don't know how you would recreate all those related records, right? I mean, you
No,
could
correct.
go back and find the contact that you deleted and restore it, and you might be able to work it back that way. But think about how many records you'd have to restore to get back up to the account.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then we'd have to use the restore operation anyway. So, okay, just curious if it was something that you
I haven't tried it yet.
use or
Yeah.
okay. Awesome.
I just always use this. So I guess it's fun when Microsoft adopts things like that tools
Yeah.
already exist for. Like the ribbon workbench is always on my list as something great to use, but you can now edit the ribbon directly inside of the Maker portal. It has limitations. You can't really edit existing buttons as well. Like if you want the like opportunity close button to do something different, it's difficult to do directly in Dynamics. The ribbon workbench has a lot of I would say it's just broader and you can do more with it. So
yeah, for sure.
Okay.
All right. Ashley, got
do-
12 minutes of your beautiful time here left. What are our next tools?
Yep. So I have 3 more. So I think we'll have just
Okay.
enough time. The data transporter is the next tool that, again, as an admin, but mostly as a consultant, has saved a lot of time. So as when you're launching, especially a new environment, but this also works when you're kind of adding things along, it's really great to have everything have the same GUID, right? You want your business units, you want your teams, because then when you do automations down the road, you don't have to, you can use the same records in your views and in your automations and Power Automate. You don't have to try to like just do it by name. You can actually use the same physical record, and when you promote it up through your environments, it will stay the same. So very important for that. Very important, I would say, for your teams, business units, things like that. But this also is really nice when you have like just account data and you're like, hey, I want to bring some live account data from my production down to my dev environment because I need to do some testing.
Yeah.
And you don't want to have to import export. It's really easy to do with this data transporter. It does exactly what it does. It transports data from one environment to another. You'll see up here, the source environment is going to be the environment that you're automatically connected to. And then you can select a different environment that you have in your environment. The other great thing here is that it doesn't have to be within the same tenant. So if you want to move data from like a CDX or your own personal system because you're doing some testing and you want to move it into a different tenant, you can do that. It does not have to be within the same tenant. So what'll happen here is that you can come in and let's say that I want to move accounts from my CDX environment into this sandbox dev environment. It'll give you all of the different fields that you have access to, right? So any field in here, the things that you can't update are like created on, created by, things like that are pretty typical. You can't update those, but you can update everything else. The other great thing is, let's say that you added some additional data in your dev environment, and I only want to add that field. I only want to update my existing records in production with that new data. I can select just that field, and then I can say that rather than create records, I want to update records. And that way it'll only update the existing. Again, this is where having the same GUID really helps, is because it'll go in and it'll find that record and it'll update it. And so this will help, and then it'll only go in and update that specific record. The other great thing is you can do both. So let's say you just want to do a refresh on your data. You want it to create any new records, but you want it to update any existing records. You can do both in the same process. And so what you'll do here is you'll select your fields, and then you can go ahead and hit transfer data. You could hit preview, and it'll show you all of the fields or all of the records that are going to get created. So it's showing you the different GUIDs, and it's showing you the names of all of the accounts that are going to get brought over. So it does, and then it shows you what action it's going to take. Is it going to create it, or is it going to update it? Since these are different tenants, I doubt nothing will match, so there will be no updates. But it'll show you, a list of all of those. Now you're probably wondering, okay, I want a subset of data, right? Like I added, some new data. I don't want to update everything that might be different. I only want to update a specific like these 10 accounts. You do have the ability to filter. So you can click filter here and put in your fetch XML, and it will filter down what accounts you're going to update and what will show up in your preview. You can use the advanced find feature in CRM. They actually added the download fetch XML in just the side view in the new filter. I was really excited to find that a couple weeks ago. I hadn't tried. I'm sure it's been there for a while, but it's really fun when you find things that make your life easier. You could also use the fetch XML builder inside of the XrmToolBox. That's another option. But you can just go ahead and only bring over like the actual filter part when it starts with filter and ends with filter. If you add too much, it can't read it. But you can filter down the data that you're looking for. And then you would need to hit transfer data, and it'll take that specific action, whether it's create, update. You can delete. There's a different tool in the XrmToolBox that I would recommend for bulk deletion. So we're not going to go over that today, but there is a bulk delete. And obviously there's bulk delete in the system as well, but there is a bulk delete option that I would much rather recommend than doing this.
Yeah.
And I use this primarily with my initial implementations, right? I'm moving data from one environment to another, or if I'm updating data, I want to do a test update in a sandbox, and then I only want to move that specific information. Option sets are probably the biggest one, because maybe you add a new option to the option set, and then you need to go in and update specific accounts in your production. And so you update them in your sandbox, and then you can just bring it over into production with just a couple clicks.
Yeah. We use this for limited testing on new workflows, business process, integrations, things like that, just on a limited set of data, because our clients, technically we recommend not having production data in the sandbox, because it's a lot of financial data and PII and stuff like that. So this is a really great tool for having a limited use, limited, like least privilege access adherence as well, and all that good stuff. So yeah, I think it's a great tool, but but to be using it very, very properly.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And again, it's going to respect your permissions, right? So
Permissions,
you're only
of
going to
course,
be
yeah.
able to update fields that you have access to. So if there's column level security,
Yeah.
you might not be able to update a field.
Rhonda,
Xanda, I
your
see you have your
question?
hand up.
I do. It was just to jump because I know we've only got 5 or 6 minutes,
Yep.
but I don't know if there would be a window unless somebody else on the call would really like to ask something. Do you have any best practice for reports if you're doing looking at data dictionaries and you want to extract the metadata? Because I've been on a lot of projects where you join the project, lots of renaming of forms of fields has been done, and we've not always had the best data dictionary. I just wonder if you had some best practice around that or a preferred report in XrmToolBox for that.
Yep. So I've used the metadata document generator. That's the one that I've
Yeah,
used for that. And
still.
it'll just,
Okay.
yeah, that's still the same one.
Okay.
Yeah, some of
thank
these are just classics and you just never move away from them because they accomplish all of your goals.
They're always needed. Yeah.
I'm going to stop here because I know we have 5 minutes. Like I said, I could talk about the XrmToolBox for hours. I won't do that today. But I wanted to see if are there any questions? Are there any use cases like Vanda brought up, like, hey, we have this situation, is there a tool for that? Any questions from the group?
No, but I'll add something. Maybe we need to talk to somebody about building a co-pilot for picking the right XRM tool out of the toolbox.
That is a very good point because sometimes it is hard, especially when I have new consultants. I'm like, oh, go to the toolbox. I'll pull up the site here. They do have the tools and they have all of them listed here and you can get a description of what it does. But I mean, that's these are developers, right? At the end of the day,
Yeah.
they're not going to
that's
give super detailed instructions.
Well,
So
That's
yes,
a Power
I
Pages
love
site.
that
Yeah,
idea.
Robert,
it's
can you build something?
about data, because if you basically just give the URL of like all of this documentation to Copilot or ChatGPT or whatever your choice of AI is, it will be able to like crawl through that and should be able to give good recommendations on what tool to use in what situation if the data here is good enough. That's the trick. So if it's not well documented, then you're probably out of luck.
Yeah.
Well, then use Copilot to help build the documentation.
That's true.
I was thinking about that too. Like, could we offer suggestions? Like, hey, I've used this now. Here's how I would describe how to use it. I'm sure they would. People that build these tools are awesome, right? They're huge community members. And you can also, I've tweeted people before or just reach out to them on LinkedIn. Like, hey, I'm trying to use your tool. I'm having some issues. Like, how do you recommend getting around it? Reach out to them. I mean, their names are here, right? You can see who's putting it out there. Ask them. They would love that that you're using their tool. So
one thing I also look at is like how many people have downloaded that tool. Like I try not to use the tools that are like 4 downloads because I want somebody else to kind of take the pain. So if we're looking for a tool or recommending tools to clients, I go look at the downloads.
Yeah.
And the ratings some
And the
cases, but I think the
ratings.
downloads are actually also insightful. So
yeah, just remember if it's new, there's probably not going to be a ton, right?
Yep.
Of downloads. But yeah, definitely always try everything in a sandbox. Do not use any of these directly in production. Obvious, I think is my biggest advice to anybody.
Excellent. Thank you, Linda. You got it. Okay, perfect. Actually, this was awesome. And we absolutely could do like days and days of this stuff just to get through like even the top 25 kind of thing. So the good news is we've got Ashley's deck. It will be part of this presentation. You'll be able to catch it on our YouTube channel, or sorry, the DynamicsCon YouTube channel. We have a subset. I actually created a playlist. I don't know if you'll be able to find it, everybody, but it's called D365 Manager and Admin. We actually rebranded our name kind of halfway through our existence here. So I tried to put all of our content in one playlist. If you can't find it, just let us know. But we love hearing from you guys. Please, please, please submit the survey. We get better if you guys help us how to fine tune things. So there's a QR code there. There's a link there. Don't be intimidated by the number of questions. It's just the way it has to be formatted. So there's a few questions in there, very light, you know, for you guys to give us feedback, but we do read everything and we do appreciate the time you take there. Next slide, Rhonda. We are on a summer hiatus at this point. So this is the last session for this season, and we will pick up in September. We are furiously planning for the fall. We have way too many topics for how many months there are. This is a monthly session, so just assume we're going to have the same schedule, kind of like the third or fourth Thursday of the month, usually at this lunch hour time in Eastern Time Zone. But we will see you in September. Part of the survey, we asked for feedback on topics, but as I said, there's no shortage of topics. If you want to present and be part of this session, we love that. So we harass people all the time, but we also can, please reach out to us and let us know you've got some special sauce to share with this group, and it will be well appreciated. And Vonda is our brain trust over here to get all of us organized here. So she will get the recording up to the Doug YouTube site. It takes a little bit of time just to get it edited and to get it up there, but that link for the YouTube site you just saw there, it will eventually land there. Nancy, do you want to have a final hurrah here as well?
No, just thanks for everybody for attending. Tell your friends and family about it. I did plug the mentorship program as well. I put an application form link in the chat. Vanda's put the links to the future meetings. We're going to, our group's going to meet tomorrow to decide what the subjects are going to be in those meetings. So you got 24 hours essentially to let us know if you have any preferences. But we're going to start our planning for the fall. So yeah, thank you. You have so many places to choose to spend your time. Really appreciate you spending it with us.
Absolutely.
Have a great summer.
Absolutely.
I got to run.
Ashley, thank you so much. Fantastic job. Everybody, thank you for joining us today. Happy summer. We'll see you in September.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Ashley. It was brilliant.
Really
very relatable stuff. So
great job.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye.
All right, bye everyone.
Bye.